You're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Monsoon session of Indian Parliament to begin today, spread over a month. The session to witness crucial legislative business and intense political debates on key issues. Rising prices and anti-immigration pitch put Japanese Prime Minister Ishiba's future at stake. Ishiba vows to stay on even as ruling coalition loses majority in upper house. Iran warns E3 against sanctions revival ahead of nuclear talks with France, Germany and the UK on Friday, after European nations warned that international sanctions could return if Tehran does not agree for talks. Ecuador extradites a notorious drug lord Fito to US to appear before court on Monday. And in sports, Grandmaster Koneru Humpy creates history, becomes first ever Indian to reach the FIDE Women's World Cup semi-final. And on to the details now. Japan's ruling coalition has lost its majority in the country's upper house after the fringe far-right Shinsei party emerged as one of the biggest winners in Japan's upper house election on Sunday. The party won 14 seats, adding to the single lawmaker it secured in the 248-seat chamber 3 years ago. It has only 3 seats in the most powerful lower house. Second placed was the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan, which won 22 of those being contested, followed by the Democratic Party for the People with 17. In the election, 125 seats in the 248-seat upper house were contested in the election. The coalition needed 50 of those up for grabs, but NHK and others said they only won 47, with the LDP winning 39 and Komeito 8, giving them 122 deputies. Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba expressed his intention to stay in the job. While speaking after the polls closed on Sunday, the Prime Minister said he solemnly accepts the harsh result, but that his focus was on trade negotiations. Well, we may tell you, Japan's ruling coalition has lost its majority in the country's upper house. And after the fringe far-right Shinsei party emerged as one of the biggest winners in Japan's upper house election on Sunday. The party has won 14 seats, adding to the single lawmaker it secured in the 248-seat chamber 3 years ago. And it has only 3 seats in the more powerful lower house. Well, the second placed was the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan, which won 22 of those being contested, followed by the Democratic Party for the People with 17. And moving on, Iran, Britain, France and Germany will hold nuclear talks in Istanbul on Friday. An Iranian foreign ministry said this early on Monday, following warnings by the 3 European countries that failure to resume negotiations would lead to international sanctions being reimposed on Iran. The talks scheduled for Friday come after foreign ministers of E3 nations, as those European countries are known, as well as the European Union's foreign policy chief, held their first call on Thursday with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi since Israel and the US attacked Iranian nuclear facilities a month ago. Well, the E3 have said they would restore UN sanctions on Tehran via the snapback mechanism by the end of August if nuclear talks that were ongoing between Iran and the US before the Israel-Iran air war do not resume or fail to produce concrete results. Meanwhile, Iran has ruled out reverting to the old deal. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the E3 lacks any legal, political and moral standing for reactivating the snapback sanctions. He elaborated in a post to social media on Sunday, saying through their actions and statements, including providing political and material support to the recent unprovoked and illegal military aggression of the Israeli regime and the US. Well, E3 have relinquished their role as participants in the JCPOA. Well, also, Russian President Vladimir Putin met Ali Larijani, a top advisor to Iran's supreme leader on nuclear issues in Moscow on Sunday to discuss Iran's nuclear program. The meeting was unannounced and held at the Kremlin. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Larijani shared views on the situation in West Asia and Iran's nuclear issue. Putin reiterated Russia's stance on regional stability and a political solution. Russia supports Iran but stayed cautious after US and Israeli strikes in June. A German source has said that France, Germany and Britain plan new nuclear talks with Iran soon. Iran agreed to the talks, according to the news agency. Meanwhile, Russia denied a report that Putin urged Iran to accept a US deal on uranium enrichment. Iran insists it does not seek nuclear weapons and defends peaceful nuclear energy use. And Ecuador's most notorious drug lord has been extradited to the United States a year after he was recaptured following a prison escape that sparked a wave of violence across the country. While Jose Adolfo Macias, better known as Fito, was transferred on Sunday from a maximum security prison in the port city of Guayaquil to the city's airport, where he was handled over to US officials. A photograph released by Ecuadorian prison authorities showed Macias wearing shorts, a t-shirt, a helmet and a bulletproof vest as he was escorted by several heavily armed national police agents. Fito is set to appear in US federal court on Monday. Fito was a taxi driver turned crime boss, agreed in a Quito court last week to be extradited to the United States to face the charges. And US President Donald Trump said on Sunday he would help Afghans detained in the United Arab Emirates for years after fleeing their country when the United States pulled out and the Taliban took power. While Trump, a Republican who promised a far-reaching immigration crackdown, suspended refugee resettlement after he took office in January. In April, the Trump administration terminated temporary deportation protections for thousands of Afghans in the U.S. Trump cited news website Just the News as saying that UAE officials were preparing to hand over some Afghan refugees to the Taliban. Well, the UAE agreed in 2021 to temporarily house several thousand Afghans evacuated from Kabul as the Taliban ousted the US-backed government during the final stages of the US-led withdrawal. Nearly 200,000 Afghans have been brought to the US by former President Joe Biden's administration since the US troop withdrawal from Kabul. Also, Donald Trump has yet again refuted a Wall Street Journal report that Treasury Secretary had to intervene to keep him from firing Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. In his post, Trump called the story untruthful, though the president has been vocal in his criticism of Powell and on Friday reiterated his call for him to lower the interest rates. Also, reports are emerging of a possible meeting between President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. That meeting could take place ahead of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit scheduled between October 30th and November 1st, or on the sidelines of the APEC event in South Korea. The US and China have been engaged in ongoing efforts to resolve a prolonged tariff war that has disrupted global trade and supply chains. President Trump has set on August 12th deadline for both sides to finalize a comprehensive and lasting trade agreement. The two countries' most recent high-level contact was on July 11th when U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Malaysia. Both sides described the talks as productive and positive, focusing on a roadmap for continuing the trade negotiations. While there are reports of meeting between Xi and Trump, but what is confirmed is Chinese Premier's meeting with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa. The leaders due to visit China will meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday. Chinese Premier Li Qiang will be co-chairing the 25th China-EU summit with the EU leaders the same day. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for negotiations with Russia next week to push forward ceasefire talks amid growing U.S. pressure on Moscow to reach a deal. While responding to it, Kremlin has said that Russian President Vladimir Putin is ready to move towards a peace settlement for Ukraine, but Moscow's main objective is to achieve its goals. The previous two rounds of talks in Istanbul have failed to bring any substantive result. DD India's Raghav Kumar Jha has filed this report.
After two rounds of unsuccessful talks in Istanbul, Ukraine proposed on Saturday to initiate a new round of peace negotiations with Russia next week. In his evening address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reaffirmed his willingness to meet face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin, stressing that a high-level summit is essential for achieving lasting peace.
Security Council Secretary Umerov also reported that he had proposed the next meeting with the Russian side for next week. The momentum of the negotiations must be increased. Everything must be done to achieve a ceasefire, and the Russian side must stop hiding from decisions.
Reacting to Kyiv's offer for the next round of peace talks, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov spoke to state television in a clip published on Sunday. He said that Russian President Vladimir Putin is ready to work toward a peace settlement for Ukraine. But Peskov added that Moscow's main objective is to achieve its own goals.
President Putin has repeatedly spoken of his desire to bring the Ukrainian settlement to a peaceful conclusion as soon as possible. This is a long process. It requires effort. It is not easy. It seems Washington is increasingly coming to understand this.
On Monday, Trump announced a toughened stance on Russia's war in Ukraine, setting a 50-day deadline for Moscow to reach a ceasefire or face sanctions. The United States also promised a new wave of military aid to Ukraine, including Patriot missile defense systems. And on Friday, the European Union also imposed the 18th package of sanctions on Moscow that targets Russian banks and lowers a price cap on oil exports in a bid to curb its ability to fund the conflict. Meanwhile, in a significant development, Russian forces on Sunday captured the village of Bila Hora in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, according to a report from the state-run RIA news agency, which quoted Russian Defense Ministry regarding the strategic takeover. Raghav Kumar Jha for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Bedouin fighters headed towards village near Syria's Sweda as residents reported calm in the city after days of violence. Typhoon Vipar batters Hong Kong and Macau. Hundreds seek shelter amid severe storm damage. And Maya tradition soars as dancers perform sacred Palo Volador dance in Guatemala.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on. Updates from Syria now. Dozens of Bedouin fighters make their way towards the village of Al-Mazra in the outskirts of Sweda on Sunday. The calm was reported in Syria's Sweda after the Islamist-led government announced that Bedouin fighters had withdrawn from the predominantly Druze city, and a U.S. envoy signaled that a deal to end days of fighting was being implemented. The fighting began a week ago with clashes between Bedouin and Druze fighters. Damascus then sent troops to quell the fighting, but they were accused of carrying out widespread violations against the Druze and was hit by Israeli strikes before withdrawing under a truce agreed on Wednesday. The Syrian presidency had announced a new ceasefire early on Saturday, but it quickly collapsed into renewed fighting, underlining the challenge interim President Ahmed al-Shara faces in asserting authority over the fractured nation. And London's Royal Opera House on Sunday condemned as wholly inappropriate the actions of a performer who held up a Palestinian flag on stage at the end of a performance. The action took place on the closing night of the production, which had enjoyed an uneventful 11-night run in Covent Garden up until that point. The protester appeared to be performing in the chorus of the show. The incident comes after numerous artists offered messages of support for people in Gaza at this year's Glastonbury Festival. And at least 9 people were killed in a head-on collision between a pickup truck and an SUV near Monte Cristi, Western Ecuador, early on Sunday morning. Authorities suspect one vehicle veered out of its lane that caused accident. Overcrowding may have contributed to the high death toll, officials said. Traffic accidents remain a leading cause of death in Ecuador. From January to May 2025, over 4,700 crashes left 565 dead. Last year, nearly 2,300 traffic fatalities were recorded, with many blamed on reckless or inexperienced driving. And Indonesia's Coast Guard battled to douse the ship that caught fire off the coast of Sulawesi. According to local reports, 5 people were killed in the blaze, while 284 others were left to escape. Dramatic video footage showed thick smoke billowing from the vessel as rescuers worked to assist the survivors. The cause of the fire remains unknown. Authorities have launched an investigation. The incident adds to the string of maritime safety concerns in Indonesia's busy waters. And in Mexico City, dozens of residents led the second anti-gentrification march on Sunday. The protest came after officials announced a 14-point plan to address the capital's housing and gentrification problems, with residents saying they have been priced out of their neighborhoods, in part because of over-tourism, short-term home rentals, and an influx of people and businesses with higher purchasing power. However, Mexico City Mayor Clara Brugada said living in Mexico City should not be a privilege for a few, but rather a guaranteed right for all its residents. And some global weather updates now. Torrential rains that slammed South Korea for 5 days have left 17 people dead and 11 others missing. The Interior and Safety Minister said about 2,730 people remain evacuated from their homes on Sunday. The rain stopped in most of South Korea on Sunday, and heavy rain alerts have been subsequently lifted throughout the country, ministry officials said. Southern regions have received up to about 600 to 800 millimeters of rain since July 16th. President Lee Jae-myung offered condolences to victims of the heavy downpours and announced plans to designate severely affected areas as special disaster zones, enabling increased government aid and recovery support. Well, also rains from Typhoon Vipha pounded Hong Kong on Sunday as the storm skirted southwards before making landfall on the coast of China's Guangdong province. The storm left Hong Kong with fallen trees and damaged scaffolding and forced over 200 people to seek refuge in temporary shelters. Hong Kong's highest tropical cyclone warning, T10, was in effect for around 7 hours but was downgraded to the third highest T8 warning as Typhoon Vipha departed the city. Neighbouring casino hub Macau issued its own top-level typhoon warning shortly after noon, with authorities suspending all public transportation services. The storm is currently moving towards the west, with bringing heavy rains and strong winds to the coastal regions. Well, moving on, the Vietnamese government reported on Sunday that the death toll from a capsized boat in Halong Bay has reached 38, becoming one of Vietnam's worst recent accidents in Halong Bay. Rescue operations continued overnight in Halong Bay, with teams recovering the capsized boat and searching for 4 missing people after retrieving dozens of bodies. Despite calm seas, poor visibility challenged efforts. The boat carrying 53 people tipped over on July 19th as Storm Vipha approached the country across the South China Sea. Strong winds, heavy rainfall and lightning were reported in the area. All the tourists aboard were Vietnamese, including several children. Meanwhile, the grieving relatives gathered at a funeral home in nearby Ha Long City to mourn the victims of the tragic accident. Well, also officials in Texas have significantly reduced the number of people reported missing following the devastating floods earlier this month, stating that the search is now focused on 3 individuals in the state's hardest hit region. Recovery teams are searching along the Guadalupe River in Kerr County, the epicenter of the flooding, for the remaining missing individuals, previously estimated at around 100. Now, dozens of deaths occurred in other counties, and the body of Burnett County Fire Chief is still missing. At least 135 people died in central Texas, including more than 3 dozen children, after strong downpours sparked flash flooding at the beginning of the July 4th holiday weekend. Earlier on July 11th, U.S. President Donald Trump and his wife Melania visited the areas affected by the disaster. And Iranian authorities have urged residents to limit water consumption as the country grapples with severe shortages amid an ongoing heat wave. Water scarcity is a major issue in Iran, particularly in arid provinces in the country's south, with shortages blamed on mismanagement and overexploitation of underground resources, as well as the growing impact of climate change. The weather authorities said Iran was experiencing its hottest week of the year so far, with the temperatures exceeding over 40 degrees Celsius in some areas. Government spokeswoman Fatemeh announced that the Tehran province would observe a public holiday on Wednesday due to the ongoing heat wave. Authorities across Iran have issued similar appeals in recent days, asking residents in several provinces to limit the water usage. Well, the Indian Meteorological Department on Monday has also issued orange alert for very heavy rain in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. The southern states of Karnataka, Telangana and Tamil Nadu are also likely to get continued heavy to very heavy rainfall over the week. For other parts of northwest India, the IMD has predicted heavy rain over Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir, West Uttar Pradesh, East Uttar Pradesh, West Rajasthan, East Rajasthan and Haryana till Thursday. Moderate rainfall has also been predicted for Delhi NCR during the next 24 hours. Well, an earthquake of magnitude 6.2 shook the Alaska Peninsula early on Monday morning. According to the National Center for Seismology and the U.S. Geological Survey, the quake struck at a depth of 48 kilometers. The epicenter was located 81 kilometers southeast of Sand Point, which is a small community on the peninsula's eastern coast. The peninsula is prone to high seismic activity due to its position along the Pacific Ring of Fire. The earthquake was described as notable. No tsunami warning was issued. Local emergency officials are monitoring the situation but have not reported any injuries or damage so far. About 45 minutes after the Alaska quake, a separate 4.6 magnitude earthquake struck Tajikistan. Earlier, an earthquake measuring 7.3 on the Richter scale struck the Alaska Peninsula on July 17th. The powerful quake hit at a shallow depth of 10 kilometers. Also, a magnitude 7.4 earthquake struck near the coast of the Kamchatka region in the far east of Russia on Sunday. The earthquake struck off the east coast of Kamchatka at a depth of 10 kilometers shortly after a previous quake. The officials updated the quake to a 7.4 magnitude after first reporting it at 6.7 magnitude. The U.S. National Tsunami Warning Center had initially issued a tsunami watch for the state of Hawaii, which was cancelled shortly afterwards. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Tourists visiting Rome's Colosseum can now explore the ancient monument after sunset, as a new nighttime tour called A Night at the Colosseum aims to offer a cooler and less crowded experience during the city's peak summer heat. The 60-minute guided tour covers the first-tier arena floor and underground chambers and focused on the history of the Colosseum as a venue for public spectacles during the Roman Empire, including animal hunts and gladiator combat. The neighboring Croatian islands of Salta and Brac compete annually in a unique tug-of-war to claim the small uninhabited islet of Merduja between them. Boats from each island line up to try to pull Merduja towards their side of the bay. After 16 years with no movement of the island, organizers added quizzes and games to decide the winner. This year, Salta won symbolic ownership of Merduja for the year. Well, thousands of athletes from around the world competed in the 17th World Dragon Boat Racing Championships hosted by Germany, with a total of 4,850 participants from 34 nations. Rules for the week-long event are strict and set out by the International Dragon Boat Federation. The event concluded on Sunday. Well, dancers in traditional red and gold costumes performed the ancient Palo Volador dance, the flying pole dance, recently in Guatemalan town of Cubilco, leaping from a 22-meter pine trunk. Performers were seen attached only by the ropes tied to their legs. The spiritual ceremony represents a living testament to the cultural identity of the Maya Achi people and takes place over 10 days from July 16th to 25th. And still to come in DD India News Hour. Direct flights from Hindon Airport to 9 major cities launched will ease the Delhi airport load. Over 3 lakh devotees joined peaceful Amarnath Yatra so far. LG Sinha reviews Baltal camp arrangements. And Sudarshan Patnaik marks second Shravan Monday with stunning sand art tribute at Puri Beach. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Araghchi and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Monsoon session of Indian Parliament to begin today, spread over a month. The session to witness crucial legislative business and intense political debates on key issues. Rising prices and anti-immigration pitch put Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's future at stake. Ishiba vows to stay on even as ruling coalition loses majority in the upper house. Iran warns E3 against sanctions revival ahead of nuclear talks with France, Germany and the UK on Friday, after European nations warned that international sanctions could return if Tehran does not agree for talks. Ecuador extradites notorious drug lord Fito to US to appear before court on Monday. And in sports, Grandmaster Koneru Humpy creates history, becomes first ever Indian to reach the FIDE Women's World Cup semi-final. And moving on, the monsoon session of Parliament is set to begin today, spanning over a month. This session is expected to feature significant legislative business and intense political debates. From key amendment bills to discussions on national security and governance, both houses will face a packed agenda. The session, scheduled for 21 sittings, and will conclude on 21st of August. Well, the government convened an all-party meeting ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament in New Delhi on Sunday. During the meeting, the government sought cooperation from all political parties to ensure the smooth functioning of both houses. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju stated that the government is open to discussion on all important matters, including Operation Sindoor.
We are very open to discussion on important issues like Operation Sindoor, related to all the incidents right from the attack in the Pahalgam. These are issues of great national importance. Government is not shying away from discussion. The only thing I'm saying is we will discuss under certain rules, certain procedure, with a convention which is there before us. So government will never shy away from discussion unless it is prevented under certain rules or under certain provisions.
And now let's take a look at the legislative business for today in both the Houses of Parliament. In Rajya Sabha, the Upper House, Union Ports, Shipping and Waterways Minister Sarbananda Sonowal will move the Bill of Lading Bill 2025 for consideration and passing. The bill will replace the 169-year-old colonial-era Indian Bills of Lading Act 1856 to modernize India's shipping laws. The new legislation aims to align India's maritime trade with global standards, simplifying legal processes and enhancing efficiency in the shipping sector. While in Lok Sabha or the lower house, Union Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal will introduce the readjustment of representation of scheduled tribes and assembly constituencies of the State of Goa Bill 2024 for consideration and passing. The bill seeks to reserve seats in the Goa Legislative Assembly for scheduled tribes. And for more on this, we have Dibyendu Mondal joining us. Well, Dibyendu, given the government's outreach in the all-party meeting and the mention of sensitive issues like Operation Sindoor, what kind of debates or flashpoints can we expect to dominate this monsoon season?
Well, Araghchi, it is going to be a power-packed political month in Parliament's monsoon session. Because, the opposition is going to take up issues in Parliament, including the discussions, the demand for, in fact, discussions on Operation Sindoor as well as the Pahalgam attack. It is also expected that the opposition could bring up the issue of the unfortunate Air India crash in Ahmedabad, which could see some, political ruckus in Parliament. The opposition also held a meeting, just day before yesterday, on the strategies, in fact, to chalk out the strategies as to what they will be following in Parliament. So therefore, although the government has said that they are ready to discuss every issue that is of national importance, and discussions on the Operation Sindoor as well as the Pahalgam attack would be taken up by the government following the rules. We also heard the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju did clarify on this particular issue. So therefore, the government is saying that they are ready for discussion. The opposition says that no, we have certain demands and that demands needs to be
Right.
met on the floor of the House. So therefore, key debates, key important discussions is expected to take place in the Parliament. Apart from this, Dipakshi, there are important bills and the legislations that the government is expecting to bring in this
Right.
particular session of Parliament, including certain important bills such as the income tax amendment bill, which is going to simplify the income tax laws and move out the redundant laws that are there in the income tax provision. Also, apart from that, the Jan Vishwas bill is also expected to bring in this session of Parliament. It will be debated in both the houses. So therefore, like these, there are other important bills also slated to be taken up for discussion during the month-long session in Parliament. Dipakshi.
All right, Dibyendu, thank you so much for all that information. And moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay an official visit to the United Kingdom on the 23rd and 24th of July and state visit to Maldives from July 25th to 26th, 2025. In the first leg of his visit, Prime Minister Modi will visit United Kingdom, where he will hold wide-ranging discussions with his counterpart Keir Starmer on the entire gamut of India-UK bilateral relations. They will also exchange views on issues of regional and global importance. Prime Minister is also expected to call on His Majesty King Charles III. During the visit, the two sides will also review the progress of the comprehensive strategic partnership with a specific focus on trade and economy, technology and innovation, defense and security, climate, health, education and people-to-people ties. This will be Prime Minister Modi's fourth visit to the United Kingdom. Well, in the second leg of his visit, Prime Minister will undertake a state visit to Maldives on the 25th and 26th of July. This will be Prime Minister's third visit to Maldives and the first visit by a head of state or government of Maldives during the presidency of Dr. Mohammad Muizzi. Prime Minister will be the guest of honor at the celebrations of the 60th anniversary of the independence of Maldives on July 26, 2025. During the visit, Prime Minister will meet Dr. Mohammad Muizzi and hold discussions on issues of mutual interest. The two leaders will also take stock of the progress in the implementation of the India-Maldives joint vision for a comprehensive economic and maritime security partnership, adopted during the state visit of the President of Maldives to India in October 2024. And after concluding his visit to Eswatini, India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Pavitra Margarita, landed in Lesotho late on Sunday with an aim to strengthen bilateral relations. The minister was welcomed by Thebang Lakela, Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs and International Relations of Lesotho. In a post on social media platform X, Margarita stated that he's looking forward to engaging the leadership to further strengthen bilateral relations between the two nations. And direct air service from Indian Airport in Uttar Pradesh's Ghaziabad to 9 major cities of the country started on Monday with an aim to help decongest Indira Gandhi International Airport in Delhi. While Union Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu Kinjarapu launched a new flight to Bengaluru, Kolkata, Varanasi, Goa, Patna, Chennai, Mumbai, Ahmedabad and Indore. The flights will be operated by Indigo, becoming the second airline to mark its presence in Hindon Airport. 4 months ago, Air India Express started its operations here. Minister termed the achievement as Udan of the ambitions and aspirations of the common Indians. With operations from both the airports, flyers based out of the national capital region will be served by these two airports. The government aims to make India a global aviation hub by the year 2030.
हिंडन की ये उड़ान है गाजियाबाद की और उड़ान है पश्चिम उत्तर प्रदेश की और ये पूरे उड़ान है हमारे भारत की और ये उड़ान आम आदमी की सपने के भी है। तो आपको समझना पड़ेगा कि एयरपोर्ट सिर्फ ऐसा नहीं है कि एक जगह से दूसरे जगह जाने के लिए एक व्यवस्था ही नहीं है। उस जो लोकल एरिया है, जो लोकल इकोनॉमी है, उसका एक बहुत बड़ा ग्रोथ इंजन एयरपोर्ट आज बनते हैं। तो इसलिए रोजगार की बात हो, कनेक्टिविटी की बात हो या वहां पे गौरव सम्मान की बात हो उस एरिया की, एक एयरपोर्ट वहां पे लाने से इन सब चीजों का आप बहुत बड़ा बढ़ोतरी दे सकते हैं। तो उसी तरह हमने ये हिंडन एयरपोर्ट को एक अच्छी नजरिए के साथ हमने प्लानिंग किया।
Well, after the launch at the Indian airport, Civil Aviation Minister also spoke on Ahmedabad Air India plane crash probe, saying Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has done a good work by decoding the whole black box. He, however, refused to make any comments until the final report has come.
I believe in AIB. I believe in the work that they are doing. They have done a wonderful job in decoding the whole black box and getting the data out in India itself. It was a huge success for us because previous incidents, whenever the black box was seen to be damaged, it was always sent abroad to get the data out. But this is the first time that successfully AIB has decoded everything. The data has been here. We are studying the report thoroughly, and whatever necessary things that need to be done in terms of safety, we are ready to do them.
And moving on, the annual 38-day Sri Amarnathji Yatra that commenced on the 3rd of this month is going on peacefully and seamlessly from twin routes of Nanwan Pahalgam Base Camp in South Kashmir's Anantnag district and Baltal Base Camp in Central Kashmir's Ganderbal district. During the first 17 days of the 38-day Sri Amarnathji pilgrimage, the number of pilgrims has surpassed the 300,000 mark who paid obeisance at the holy Amarnath cave till Sunday. The ongoing pilgrimage continues to witness a steady flow of devotees, with authorities on high alert to ensure their safety and comfort. The Amarnath pilgrimage will conclude on 9th of August on the occasion of Raksha Bandhan. Early on Sunday, the Lieutenant Governor of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, visited the Baltal Base Camp in Central Kashmir's Ganderbal district and reviewed the arrangements for the annual pilgrimage. He interacted with pilgrims to receive their feedback on essential facilities. Sinha also visited the Baltal Hospital to inspect facilities and interact with patients there. And devotees across the North India flocked to the temples to pay obeisance to Lord Shiva on the occasion of second Monday of sacred Hindu month of Shravan. The entire month of Shravan is dedicated to the worship of Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati. Mondays during this period are regarded as the holiest days to perform Shiv Puja. Fasting and prayers offered on second Monday of the holy month are believed to fulfill heartfelt wishes, strengthen marital bonds and bring spiritual upliftment. And in Varanasi, the spiritual capital of India, Lord Shiva's devoted followers thronged the revered Kashi Vishwanath temple. The air echoed with chants of Har Har Mahadev as they sought the divine grace of Mahadev in his eternal abode. In Madhya Pradesh, devotees visited Ujjain's Mahakaleshwar temple on second Monday of Sawan. During prayers, Lord Shiva's idol is bathed in sacred ash or bhasma. It symbolizes the transcendence of life and death. Devotees consider it a powerful spiritual experience, seeking blessings and purification. In Uttar Pradesh, Sangam city of Prayagraj, huge crowd of devotees visited Manokameshwar temple to offer prayers. In Ayodhya, devotees offered prayers at Nageshwar Nath temple on the second Monday of the Sawan month. In Delhi, a huge crowd of devotees is visiting Gauri Shankar temple to offer prayers to Lord Shiva. Well, to mark the auspicious second Monday of the holy month of Shravan, renowned sand artist Doordarshan Patnaik created a sand art at the Puri beach. Shravan holds immense significance in Hindu mythology. During this month, devotees undertake fast, offer prayers, chant Shiva mantras, sing devotional bhajans and perform Rudrabhishek, the ceremonial bathing of Shivalingam with sacred substances such as milk, honey and curd. And moving on, Indian Embassy in Japan and Republic of Marshall Islands released a mesmerizing video where a tabla sitar musical duet by Shigeru Moriyama and Akiku Kokubu resonated 12 hours of non-stop performances. The seamless blend of rhythm and melody offered a cultural tribute that resonated deeply with the audiences, celebrating India's rich musical heritage on a global stage. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Team India suffers injury setback ahead of the fourth test at Old Trafford. Gujarat's riverfront moon trail opens for public as park glows at night with LED elements.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, you're watching Time for Sports News Now. In chess, Grandmaster Koneru Humpy has created history by becoming the first ever Indian to reach the semi-finals of the Fight Women World Cup. India's number one, Humpy, defeated China's Yuxin Song in the first game of the quarter-final and then settled for a draw in Game 2. A draw in the second game was enough to reach the semi-final as she finished with a scoreline of 1.5 to 0.5. Humpy will be next to face top-seeded Chinese Lei Tingji, who defeated Nana Zhangzhe in their quarter-final. In the other quarter-finals, the All-India clash between Harika and Dividesh Mukh will be decided through tie breaks after both their games ended in a draw. Meanwhile, the fourth Indian in the last 8, R. Vaishali, suffered an exit from the event after losing to China's Tan Zhongyi. And injury troubles continue to mount for the Indian team as 3 players have picked up injuries ahead of the fourth test at Old Trafford. All-rounder Nitish Kumar Reddy, along with pacers Arshdeep Singh and Akashdeep, suffered injuries while training for the Manchester test. Selectors have added fast bowler Anshul Kamboj as cover-up for the final 2 tests, as Arshdeep and Akashdeep are likely to be ruled out for the remainder of the England tour. The fourth test is vital for India as host England lead the 5-match series 2-1. And in tennis, Alexander Bublik defeated Juan Manuel Sarundoholo to claim the Swiss Open title and win his first tour-level clay court title. Bublik fought hard to secure a 6-4, 4-6, 6-3 win over Cerundolo in the final of the ATP 250 event. Playing his first final on clay, Bublik had not dropped a single set on his journey to Summit Clash. The victory marked a solid return to form for the Kazakh after his first-round exit in the Wimbledon. This is Bublik's second title of the season as he lifted the ATP 500 grass court trophy in Halle last month. And England women's chief defender Jess Carter said she has been the target of racist abuse since UEFA Women's Euro 2025 began in Switzerland. Carter announced on Sunday that she is stepping away from social media for the duration of the tournament. Football Association CEO Mark Bullingham has condemned the abuse and said that the FA has been in contact with the UK police, who are in touch with the relevant social media platform. The English team have also expressed their dejection, stating that they would stop the anti-racism gesture of taking a knee before matches, as the football world needs new way of tackling racism. And visitors to the Gujarat Sabarmati riverfront are all set to enjoy a new attraction. The riverfront Moon Trail, covering around 4,500 square meters, this stunning park will glow at night with more than 54 colourful LED elements. At the Moon Trail, visitors will see a variety of illuminated structures, a two-layer fountain, a glowing tunnel, illuminated swings, selfie points, a dance floor, decorative light balls and specially designed illuminated tables and chairs. Take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world in the DD India mobile app. The app's available in both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.